Welcome to the Homeschool Together podcast. Where one working mom and a stay-at-home dad help you navigate the nuts and bolts of the growing and dynamic world of homeschooling.
With a focus on early learners, like me.
All the ins and outs of building and maintaining your homeschool life.
Homeschool.
Find out tips and tricks to make things like this easier.
I'm reading.
And ultimately, enjoy educating your kids. And what's that last thing?
Have fun together. Did I do good, Daddy?
Yeah, you did, sweetie. Good job. Hello, you homeschool shoppers out there. We are back with our third annual. Is it third annual?
No, fourth annual.
Jesus, we've been around for a while, man.
We really have.
All right. So it's our fourth annual holiday gift guide. If you're out there thinking about how you can support the podcast and you're wondering what to do, and I know you're sitting there at home going, my goodness, what am I going to get these kids this year? If you're thinking about supporting the podcast, you can click through some of the links that we have below. And those will take you to Amazon. And every time you purchase, we get a little bit of a kickback. So that's not a nice little thing for us. But
it helps us keep going.
Yeah, we're trying to find some cool things. So we've had a few years now of these. And every year we try to look for something that's, those gifts that are fun, but also educational, kind of giving you guys some good ideas, maybe some food for thought. Because a lot of times, your kids are into things and they've got everything that they need for those things. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of hard to think about, how can I bring some educational toys into the mix? And that's been something that we've really been trying to focus for the last couple of years. I mean, yes, we can have the avalanche of Barbie dolls every year and that would be well received. But sometimes we want to have a little bit something that we can, take with us and, to co-op events or any type of, homeschool events. For me, the parent partnership, things that I can take with the kids to, stimulate the brain, have some fun, play some games, things of that nature.
I mean, this is something too that, grandparents really love, right? I know your mom's always asking us like, okay, what are you going to do for homeschool? What can I get for Christmas? And, frankly, grandparents don't always buy the best gifts. I don't know if this is just in our experience or if this happens to y'all too, but they tend to buy, they'll buy like, we'll say, oh, the kids are into building toys, and they'll buy just some like cheap knockoff type building toys or whatever that aren't like quality. So I find it always better to just send them links and say, hey, no, just buy magnet tiles. I know that they're more expensive, so buy a smaller set. Like, let's get quality toys or things that are really going to help. And I find that if I can really steer them and send them links and things, they do much better and they end up buying better things for our homeschool. So this is also great for grandparents. If you've got grandma or grandpa hitting you up for like, what should I get the kids? Or, your brother or sister wants to get their nieces and nephews things for Christmas. Yeah. These are all great items. You can just say, hey, this would be cool, and maybe they don't get this exact thing, but it gives them some ideas about things that you're interested in and your kids are interested in.
So let's go into it. We've kind of broken things up into categories. And as I said before, we'll go ahead and make sure all the links that we're talking about are down below. So you can go ahead and look at them if something piques your interest. So the first thing we want to talk about is imaginative play, right? Imaginative play is one of those big things, especially with our early learners, that we want to try and cultivate, keep going as long as possible. We know we have the deluge of screens everywhere and games. And a lot of times we want to get our kids, playing with things and toys and whatnot. And so first thing, that we're starting with is this, giant bean wooden play food set. And I think the thing, we were looking at this hit one of the things that Ariel and I have learned, in our 8 years of raising children, the things that we never thought we would appreciate are getting toys that come with boxes to put the toys away in.
They come with their own storage. Hot Wheels is starting to get really into this. They sell everything, and it's part of the set, and you also store things. This is cool. This is one of those wooden food play sets that it's got your cutting board and knife and forks,
almost like a little portable kitchen in some respect.
Right. And it's got all the food, and the food is Velcroed together so that you can actually cut that banana or you can, split that apple or whatever, which our kids love the Velcroed together food. What I love about this one, and it has a little stove with a little, pot and pan, is that the box itself is what turns into the stove. Yeah. So everything gets into the box. Everything fits in, and then when you open it up, you flip the box over, and on the bottom of the box is actually the stove, which is just printed on the box. So this is like a self-contained kitchen. So this would be great if you I think this has got too many pieces to really take on the go, but this would be awesome if you don't have a lot of space. Like our kids love their play kitchen. I mean, we've been trying to get rid of the thing for a little bit because our younger is now 4 and they don't play with it as much. They still like latch onto that thing. Whenever their friends come over, they always want to play with the kitchen. So it's still really popular for our kids. Even our 8-year-old loves to play kitchen. But if you don't have room for a massive kitchen, you don't want to take up a bunch of space, which is one of the reasons we're trying to like, are we ready to phase out the kitchen? Because it's big. This is great. It fits in its own box.
Well, and also if you are traveling on the road or if you're going on a long, travel, if you're having to, relocate to a certain area for a certain amount of time and you need to homeschool, this is another good idea.
Great for RV schooling.
RV schooling, world schooling, things of that nature. We know we've picked up a few world schoolers just recently. So if you guys are thinking about portable toys, especially for those really, really younger kids. I know we are trying to always think about those really, really young learners, especially in those really early years, those 3, 4, 5-year-olds, and trying to figure out what to do with them, these type of imaginative toys and imaginative play. When you're trying to think about building out your Montessori experience, if you're trying to follow a Montessori type of model, these are the great, great kind of tools for this. Another one that is a constant source of irritation for our children is we have a lot of throw blankets. We like to cuddle. We like to have blankets. Well, those blankets end up becoming roofs for forts, and so do our kitchen table chairs, and so do the couches, and
all manner of things.
They throw the blankets over it, and you've been there. You have the 8-year-old who's meticulously building this beautiful fort, just absolutely work of art, and then here comes the 4-year-old. Hits the edge of it, the blanket goes flying.
Because it's all very precariously held together, right? It's just like barely draped here.
With like the ever so smallest amount of friction is holding that blanket in place.
Because those blankets are kind of heavy.
Yeah, because they're comfy. And the 4-year-old comes in, knocks it over, and the first thing you hear is, so-and-so, you ruined my fort.
And kids love forts. One of the problems we have with forts, too, is that our blankets are only so big, unless they take like a sheet or something, which, we don't usually do. So it's like, what are we going to do with this? So
tote a fort.
Yes. So this is kind of like a parachute material. So it's really thin. There are 4 different sheets of it, and they all have Velcro tabs all around the outside. So they Velcro together. So you can make them a giant
almost
square,
like a quilt,
right? Or you can make an L, or you can make it one long thing, depending on what kind of fort they want. It all Velcros together. It's super lightweight, and it comes with some bean bags so that you can, if you wanted to drape it over a chair, you Velcro on the bean bag.
Have a little bit of a counterweight to hold it up.
Yeah, and it will hold that on.
Even to go with the tote. A fabric are the tote clips, these clips that can hold things onto the chairs.
Right. And these are just beach towel clips.
Perfect.
These are really easy. They're just like plastic clips. So they don't specifically go with the fort, but a lot of people buy them together because then you've got the counterweights and then you have these clips so you can kind of clip them around. I mean, there's all kinds of things you can clip on.
I think the clips with
extra blankets,
with
whatever
the
you want.
dedicated fabric, so they're not, pinching your blankets, or they're taking sheets that are, in the hamper or the front chest area in front of your bed or whatever it might be. They can have something that's dedicated to building forts that they can use and reuse and set up and then leave, right? You don't have to worry about like taking it down all the time.
Yeah, and this comes with its own bag too. So our kids love forts. This is absolutely going to be, let's not talk too loudly. This is definitely going to be under the Christmas tree this year for our kids because they love forts. There are other fort sets where they actually have like a structure to them, and you'll see there's rods and different connector pieces. Okay. And I asked our friends about this the other day actually because I said, hey, your kids love this thing. She goes, oh yeah, they do. I said, what about it like devolving into, violence? And she's like, oh yeah, well, we can only bring it out if we carefully supervise them because our older son actually made a trident the other day and was chasing the other kids around the house with it. He's 13. So we kind of we love and want to encourage our kids to play and do the whole fort thing, but we really didn't want to get one of those erector set types because we just felt like we would have to supervise so much so they don't hurt each other. This is a really nice compromise.
That's awesome. I love the imaginative play. But moving on to STEM, that's something that we've all been thinking about. How do I bring more STEMmy projects, STEMmy activities, things like that into my homeschool? we all know that a lot of our kids enjoy Legos. Legos are the, the kind of the analog Minecraft. And one of the things that you found was this kind of Lego race car stem kit.
Yeah. So this brand called Klutz, they actually make a bunch of different kits, and we have recommended others over the years they do different like gadget kits and things. Yeah. This one's specifically about race cars. It includes enough Legos in it to build 10 different cars, not 10 at the same time, but to build 10 varieties. And then they have plans for a bunch more race cars that you can build out of probably readily available Legos. They didn't look like they were super unique. They also come with stickers for your cars, and inside the kit, it actually makes a 3-foot long raceway. So we thought that was a really fun way to do it, give our kids lots of ideas, and then they can test out different types of cars and which makes which ones go faster. Mm-hmm. When we went to Lego Brickfest earlier this summer, this was by far the most popular thing to do. It was so popular. In fact, the line was like an hour long. We couldn't even do it with our kids, but everyone wanted to build Lego race cars and then have a race with them. And I thought, this is great because it's contained, it's got the raceway in it, it has cool stickers, and it has lots of different plans for cars so our kids can really play and see what goes faster. It's
one of the things that I've realized that people, our kids are into, because we got Matchbox cars last year and all the tracks, and going down, shooting the cars down the stairwell is like the most exciting thing for them. Watching these cars fly through the air, you could totally see them building these kind of Lego race cars and then racing them down, seeing who gets there first, having them go through obstacle courses or whatever it might be. I agree with you. We saw that line there. We couldn't even be part of the Lego race car thing. We just had to watch a couple of them because the line was so enormous. So it's definitely a really, really, really good idea. Next one you have here that you pointed out to me.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited about this one.
If you want to turn your refrigerator into a STEM center.
Well, we love marble runs. We talked before on our previous gift
Gravity
guides.
Run.
We have the VTech marble run. I guess you're going to start listing these in the show notes now too. We have the VTech marble run, which is fantastic.
We get a lot of mileage off of that.
We use it a ton. It is great quality. There's a lot of marble runs out there, and a lot of them are just kind of like cheesy and really cheap, but the VTech ones are awesome, and they have some really cool electronic parts, and I can't say enough good things about the VTech marble run. And then we talked in the first gift guide about Gravitrax, which is like the upper level marble run that's
more puzzle oriented.
Yeah, and it's you got to be older than 8. I mean, it's much more complex, right? So where VTech is for the littler kids. Okay, so I just saw this is a new marble run, but this is different. This is a magnetic marble run from National Geographic. So if you have, they show a picture of it on a refrigerator, but you could also, I'm staring at our giant whiteboard here in our office. If you have something large magnetic like that, or some people will put big magnetic sheets on the wall. Mm-hmm. So, big metal sheets on the wall to do like letters or whatever, exactly. In a more of a kind of classroom type setting. So this is all the pieces that you need to make this huge marble run. It's got stairs, and it's got, things that turn, and funnels, and all kinds of awesome. I was just telling you, I was like, when I saw this, I was like, oh, I can't have this at work. I'd be playing with it all day long.
Well, yeah, it definitely looks like one of those, remember those 2D games where they were kind of the line rider?
I loved those games.
Yeah, and it has exactly the same look and feel of it, where you're creating some track, and there's a drop, and then it comes to another one, almost like a Rube Goldberg type of thing.
Yes, exactly.
It has a lot of vibes around that.
It even has a spiral lift, so you can set the whole thing up, and then at the end, when it gets to the bottom, it has a corkscrew lift. It'll actually take the marble back to the top and then run it again. I know, I'm so excited. I think this is awesome. It's got 30 marbles in it, comes with connectors, all kinds of different tracks. So you've got stair ones, squiggle ones.
30 marbles? That sounds great. So you have enough time to lose 20 of them.
Right, exactly.
You still have 10 left.
There's all kinds of different trick pieces and track pieces. Anyway, it's a 105-piece set. I think this looks amazing. So anyways, yes, this is the magnetic marble run from National Geographic. I think this is the one I'm most excited about of this whole list, I gotta tell you.
It seems like. Next one would be the Crayola Color Chemistry Set.
Yeah, this looks very cool. So this is a chemistry set. There's 50 different experiments in it. I think that it includes all of the stuff to do 16 experiments from the stuff that's in the box, and then instructions for the other 34 experiments, and those need, according to the comments, only need some like household items, and you can use the pieces in the kit to do that. So 50 experiments in total. I think it's really great. And people said that they loved this opportunity. Our kids love color and they love doing things with color. So there's slime in here, and erupting volcanoes, and making quicksand, and making colored bubbles, making the tornado in a bottle, as we always like, glowworms,
color
slime.
wheels, things like that. Yeah, no, definitely a lot of fun, especially if you have a kid who enjoys color, playing with color, coloring. This may actually be really good for our youngest, who loves playing with color, using markers, doing little science experiments.
Yeah, she does.
It's something that she really, really enjoys doing, something very tactile, and then you get the reward of color. And I think that's something that if you have a learner who's like kind of like, leaning in that direction, that'd be kind of a cool one. I think it's a good idea. I like it a lot. The next one on our list for the STEAM set is something that I always find it very difficult when you're talking about telescopes to get kids excited about that. First part of it is that you got to look through the super itty bitty hole, and it's really, really hard and awkward. A lot of times things fog up. They get too close. They bump it. You can't see the thing that you have to reorient it and everything. It's really, really hard to get a young kid into telescopes because there's a patience issue there. And you found this Leapfrog Magic Adventures telescope, and I think it's really cool. It reminds me a lot about the Globe, and is that a Leapfrog product as well?
Absolutely.
So we have the Globe for the Around the World Journey, and we talked about this maybe a couple of years ago, and this has been a product that we've used for a long time, and I'll go ahead and put a link to that as well in the show notes if you guys are going to do the Around the World Journey. But this Leapfrog telescope has a very similar look and feel and user experience, where it has basically this digital camera on the end of the telescope, which is looking kind of lensed out into the space. And it has this kind of little digital screen at the bottom that is helping the kids see what they're looking at, whether they're pointing it out into the sky, or if they're just learning about like different constellations, or if they're trying to look at the moon and study things. But it also has these kind of interactive features that teach them about different aspects of astronomy, and looking at things into the sky, and what objects are up there to see. So it has kind of this like general application of viewing the sky, like all telescopes do, but it also has this kind of interactive element down below in a screen format that is a little bit more approachable. And it's something that I think is a nice bridge into the astronomy. So if you are looking to get your kids into astronomy, but they're very young, they just don't have the patience to look through these little itty bitty telescopes, or even if you have like one of those extenders for your phones or whatnot. Yeah,
we'll link to one of those in the show notes, because we have one of these. So for our telescope, we have a phone mount. Where so basically our phone camera goes into the viewpiece, so that they can then display so that more than one person can see. I think that's part of the problem too, is that you look in and you're like, okay, there's the moon or whatever, and they go, okay, come over in here and look, and they're trying to see,
and the moon's already moving out of frame.
And it's great when you can just see it.
It's not as hard for the moon, because the moon doesn't move as quickly.
Right, but for stars and planets, it's hard.
Yeah, if you're looking at like, Saturn or Jupiter, man, you have about like 10 seconds less before it moves out of frame, depending on how large your telescope is. And by the time the kid gets up there, bumps it a little bit and goes, "Oh, Daddy, I don't see it." It's like,
it can be really problematic.
And if you haven't splurged for a really nice telescope that will track the objects in the sky, so you don't have to readjust or whatnot. If you just have a manual telescope, it can be a little frustrating to get that that experience. That's a cheaper telescope, and I think that's where we all start. But then, now I'm going to drop $500, $600 on something that's actually going to track through the sky. So
that's
I don't
a whole
have
nother level.
It's a whole nother level. And if you're not ready to commit that much, because you don't know if your learner is going to enjoy astronomy or looking at the stars, it's hard enough for us to get these kids outside during the summer. For us, the star season in Washington is basically a 4-month period where we have decent night skies, because we don't have any rain going on. It's super clear, but the problem is the stars don't come out until 10:30 at night. Because we're so far high up in the latitude. But then we have those rare super cold nights in the winter, which is really, really nice, because the sun goes down, it gets dark around 5:30 or so, and then by 7 o'clock it's really dark. And if you have a clear sky, the stars just come right out. It's amazing. Cold sky, awesome. Cold air, really nice viewing. But you got the crapshoot of like, is the moon out, or are you getting some light pollution and whatnot? So this is a nice little alternative if you're thinking about trying to get them into it. And I've noticed, I never thought that the globe with this little itty bitty screen with the touch, the touch pen was going to be a thing. But man, both of my kids have loved it. And I think this is something they would like as well. Yeah.
It comes stock loaded with a bunch of NASA photos and videos so that you can watch things on it, even if it's not nighttime. And then when it is, it looks like from the video that we saw on it that if you track to the stars, it'll actually overlay the constellation on the stars that your child is seeing. And it's got some games and things on it.
And we know there's some really nice phone apps as well that do something similar to this. And maybe I'll link one of those as well and down below. Good idea. But if you want something that like gives the child the experience of like pointing a telescope at the sky and going to see things, I think this is a lot of fun, and I think this would be a good way to go. Moving from there, we get into language arts, something obviously near and dear to almost every homeschooling parent. Is I need to get these kids to read. You have been talking about this Yodo thing, Ariel. Tell me, sell me, just like in Wolf of Wall Street, sell me this pencil.
So there are two main types of players that can play stories for our kids. We were trying to think about, like when we were kids, they had the Disney books or whatever with the cassette tape that was in the back of them, that was in the little plastic sleeve. So
Some of us were blessed with a Sony Walkman tape player.
Right. And we had
But you couldn't afford to take your Chuck Berry album out.
No. So we had that. We also had various kids' toys that had kind of stories built in. So I remember there being lots of easy ways to get stories. Now it's a little bit more difficult. We've thought about like, should we do an MP3 player for our daughter? Yeah. But then we have to load the MP3s. And
sometimes I don't want to like find a story on YouTube or on, Libby or whatnot, because I've noticed my 4-year-old, if I walk out of the room, all of a sudden she's touching the screen.
Right. And they're on the screen, and that's really difficult. We tried to get our daughter a portable CD player so we could get CDs from the library of audiobooks.
About 2 weeks before she broke it?
Yep. She broke it. She left it where her little sister could get to it, who she was 3 at the time, and it was completely broken. So we're kind of like, we need something a little bit more robust, but our children love listening to stories, especially now that our 4-year-old is a little older. They love to like sit and do Lego and listen to stories, but you're right. If we have a story playing on the Google Hub or on the tablet, it quickly is like, there's a screen I can poke at. So I wanted to get something screen free. So there's kind of two. There's the Tony box and there's the Yodo player. And they're kind of similar. The Tony is a little bit more expensive as far as you have to buy the stories for it. The Yodo player uses cards. So it's really nice and the cards themselves are they're actually linked with a phone app that you have. So they just put the card in and it reads it and goes, okay. They're not actually playing it from the card. It's not saved on the card.
Oh, it's almost like a key.
Yeah, it's like a key. Whereas the Tony actually has these little figures, and that's cool too. Put a link to the Tony, because they're both similar. I watched a few tech reviews and I decided that I like the Yodo player more. The Yodo player, it's kind of a big square box, and it's fairly expensive, but they have this Yodo Mini, which is much more affordable, and it's smaller and portable, and we could take it with us if we were going to go in the car somewhere. They can still hook up headphones to it. The bigger one can be like a nightlight. It can do all these other things, but we just really wanted it for the stories. So the mini one is great, and you can purchase stories in all kinds of different cards, and you can even get a subscription to them. But one of the things I love the most about this, which you can't do with the other, is that you can make your own cards. So you can, for us, we have a couple of books particularly that our little one wants us to read to her 8 million times. Yep. It's the same book, and she'd be really happy if she could just listen to it. So because it's app-based, and if you have one of these make your own cards, and they're recordable as many times as you want, and each one is up to 5 hours. So you could record yourself reading various books that your kids love, or you could get, different, if there's some, free recordings that you can find, you can go ahead and load them onto these cards. And then the kids can listen as much as they want, and they can swap cards. Our kids are constantly asking Google for different stories, and then Google can't understand them, and then they fight, and it's a whole thing. So this year, I believe your mom is getting them each Yodo minis.
We're going Yodos. Okay.
So they'll each have their own, and then we can take them with us when we travel. They'd be great for the airplane. They're screen free. They're great for the car, especially if we don't want to all listen to the same story. And because they're all card based, it's not like CDs or something that's as easy for our young kid to break. So I'm really looking forward to this one because it's a great way to get tons of stories and have awesome screen-free time for them in a more durable format for our young kiddos.
It's kind of like a robust MP3 style playing of things.
Yeah, it's really robust. And so, yeah, you do have to buy the different stories, but I love the make your own cards because I'm thinking like, oh, I have so many uses. I could, we could sit and read some of these books that our kids just make us read over and over and over again. And then they could have those in the car and all kinds of places. So
it's more kid friendly with respect to, just buying a SanDisk MP3 player or something like that for 40 or 50 bucks.
Yeah, and they can't see it. I mean, this is nice too because our little one who can't read yet can look at the pictures that are on all the different cards and be like, oh, I want Beauty and the Beast or whatever. And then she just puts it in and it plays. Perfect. So I love that about it. I think it's going to be really easy and a good way for them to also have like a bedtime story. Because right now our older daughter wants to listen to a bedtime story from Google, but Google will just keep playing, right? Yeah. This is nice because it's like a defined thing. We could set them both to bed, put in the card, and when it's done playing, it's done. And then, because I can set Google on a sleep timer, but when I say it to Google, then my daughter hears it, and then she's like, well, I could just tell Google to keep going.
Or I could just tell Google to turn off his sleep timer.
Exactly, right? So I like this. This is more robust. I think it's going to be amazing for the traveling that we have coming up this next year, and for bedtime and going to grandma's and all kinds of things. So
speaking of kind of like a entertaining audio format, this is something that you've been using during the volleyball season that we just finished.
Gosh, we use this so much.
Trying to entertain a 4-year-old in the middle of a volleyball. And I don't think people understand what first and second grade volleyball looks like.
Oh boy.
It is one of the roughest sports I've ever watched. And I was the coach.
Yeah, it's
now we did
really slow.
We did really, really well, but man, is it like serve, net, serve, net, serve over, ground.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
it's like,
and when anybody else hits the ball back in the volley, everyone cheers because like something happened.
It's like paint drying, and then all of a sudden, everybody's yelling and screaming, "Somebody hit the ball!"
Right? Yeah, it's
anyway,
very.
So you had
supportive.
to entertain a 4-year-old, and you had been using our Leapfrog Leap Start set.
Right now, and most of you probably known that leap pads have been around since,
oh my God, like a while now.
Yeah, early 2000s maybe. I mean, they've been around forever, and I wasn't really sure if they were still a thing or not, but they are. Oh. And so it's a leap start. It opens up, and you would click a book into it, and the book opens, and it has a pen, and there's all kinds of different activities. It starts in preschool and goes up through, I think, second grade. We just have them in a backpack. We always ask Grandma to get us more books.
And you can plug in just a standard set of headphones.
Standard set of headphones. You can plug right into it. It's awesome because it puts up with lots of abuse. The books are like hardier material. They're not.
It's thicker.
Thin.
It's not like paper. It's almost like paper covered in like plastic or something. Like heavy duty pages.
They're thicker, and so they do have a couple of sets about learning to read.
And they're all spiral bound.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I bought one of the learning to read sets for Christmas this year, and I know that your mom bought some of the princess ones for our younger daughter. So we just grab the backpack, we have it filled with different books, and she sits there on her headphones and she can, click. And the other thing I really like about it is it's great for car rides. If you've got like long car rides, we have movies in the minivan, but we, sometimes it's like, we don't want them to watch movies for 4 straight hours or 5 straight hours if we're driving. And if we're in my car, I don't have that ability. And then they get bored, and then it's who's touching who and who's bugging who. And, so it's a whole thing. Our older daughter is very happy to listen to audiobooks, but our younger one really needs something to do. And I think this has been great. She loves it. You can get the books in 4-packs and things. So I think it's a great investment. If you've got a little one, especially one that you need to keep entertained at, co-op or older kids sports games or whatever, highly recommend.
Absolutely. Next, moving on to the next section would be arts and crafts. And this one is something waterproof beeswax blocks.
Yes, so these are Waldorf crayons.
These are the block crayons we heard.
Yeah, so we interviewed homeschool dad David Clover, and he was talking all about Waldorf-inspired education, and he has a really neat Hobbit unit study, which we will share with you guys as soon as we've had a chance to get a little further into it. I did a quick look at it, and one of the things that I was really intrigued about was these block crayons that he referenced, and the different ways that you color with them. I kind of always just thought like, what's special about block crayons? But they are really neat. I had no idea how cool they would be because of the different sides and the way that you use them. So I have a tutorial from YouTube that I'll link here so that you can see how to use them. And y'all can watch that and see. But I was really intrigued.
I can imagine you playing with the edge, the points, the flat edges,
exactly.
the rubbing section. You can actually explore different displays of the crayon. Yeah.
Right. You know,
Using it
there's
different
one where
ways.
he's making like a tree, and he's like, okay, so we use the larger side, and then we turn it onto the edge as we go out to the branches and different
cool.
stuff. It was really cool. And David is an artist by training, and so he was telling us just how much he loved those, and we thought that would be a really great thing to add to our gift guide this year.
Absolutely. Next one is something that you've been kind of playing with. Is the Metal Earth kits. If you've been into a game store or any type of, maybe a craft store, you might have seen one of these. They're about $10-12 or something. They're maybe, sometimes they could be a little larger, maybe $20. They are essentially like aluminum. I think it's aluminum or tin or something of that nature.
They are like metal sculptures.
Yeah. And so they come in like sheets. You pop them out, and then you are essentially using the little flaps, and you're putting the thing together. You're almost folding it into place. The one you were working on, was it the speeder from Star Wars?
Yes. Yep. It was the speeder. So these ones need a set of needle nose pliers. So
you can't just use a regular set of pliers.
This is a gift for teenagers.
Yes, is a
Let me say, because this is something that I'm, as an adult, I'm like, ooh, it is meticulous.
Yes.
This is something that you've got to just, I mean, it turns out something absolutely gorgeous, but you got to take needle nose pliers, and you're bending these little metal tabs and then fitting them together. And there's no glue involved. It's all metal. And it's really neat. They have the International Space Station and the Space Shuttle, and they've got samurai armor and knights and buildings, and they have ships. They have all kinds of different things. So this would be really great if you've got a teen that would really like to do that, likes model building or
loves to deep dive on something where they have to focus for hours and hours.
Yeah.
This is something you could almost imagine like putting on an audiobook and then just losing 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah, these are really neat. When you're done with the display, it looks awesome. And we put it kind of, it's artistic in that, or crafty really in the way that you have to work with it. But man, it turns out something that's just so gorgeous. Just know that this is for a teen or someone older. This is not for younger kiddos at all. But we just thought it was so cool. I'm
really
only
cool.
halfway done with the speeder now.
And they've licensed into so many different properties like Marvel and Star Wars, Harry Potter. So it's very easy to find a set that is something that applies to whatever learner, whatever they enjoy, whatever that passion, they have, like airplanes, ships, like you had said. They even have flowers and trees and animals, and there's like a huge wide variety of things. So you can easily find one of these kits that fits, the interest of whatever your student is. Yeah,
it's very crafty. And from a STEM perspective, I'm very interested in just how they constructed this. So they do have
the CAD models must be hilarious.
Oh my gosh, it must be so cool. They do have a set of pliers that you can buy to go with this, or if you have a set of needle nose kind of electronics pliers, those will work. But we're talking really fine work here.
You might just pick up their recommended
pliers. They sell one. So we'll put a link into the Metal Earth store on Amazon. You can just see all the different kinds of things they have, but it's very cool.
It's very cool, and it's a lot of time. It's not a quick project, so it's definitely something you got to work on. Next one is the classic. Everybody loves it. Ariel, what was I doing 35 minutes ago?
Painting rocks.
Painting rocks. Everybody loves to paint rocks. I was painting Polyphemus's one eye on one of the rocks. We're doing we're finally hit Greece, guys, in our ancient history curriculum, and follow us on YouTube if you'd like to watch a little bit more about that. But painting rocks is a hot thing. Mm-hmm. Kids love painting rocks.
And we used a kit today from the same manufacturer, but the one that we wanted to talk about, this one is for glow-in-the-dark rocks, which I think's awesome.
Especially if you like to if you're kind of a gardening family, or you have like an outdoor terrace or something where you have a lot of potted plants and things. Mm-hmm. Some glow-in-the-dark rocks is pretty cool because they're the dads out there when we're walking outside, taking the dogs outside.
Gosh, you have to tell us
we don't want to walk into the planter. I want to know the planter's there. I want some glow-in-the-dark rocks to tell me there's a planter.
I thought you're going elsewhere.
Oh, no. People know this is a rated G show.
So anyways, if you like the idea of painting rocks, this would be a great kit. Or you can get some glow paint your own rocks. But the kit is just nice.
What I like about the kit is they give you some really nice rocks. The rocks are kind of polished smooth. They're ready to accept paint. Mm-hmm. If you just go pick up a random rock, it's got kind of these crevices.
Man, they suck up paint.
They suck up paint. It's amazing. So these guys are kind of like ready to accept paint. I don't know if they coat them in something like some plaster or something, or like a light dusting, because all the rocks we had today were all white, like they had been tumbled or something like that.
Oh yeah, maybe they already had something on them.
And so they were really smooth. You don't have to put a ton of paint on them, and it just covers the rocks.
Yeah,
and I like it.
For the cost, I think it's good. good to get the kit.
Yep, absolutely. Next thing, so we're going from kind of arts, and we went into these rocks. Rocks are outdoor stuff. Let's get into nature.
Oh,
Transitions, yeah.
All right, so this is one that we did at one of our Girl Scout.
You did this at the Girl Scout meeting.
Yeah. So we were doing our bugs badge, and one of the moms said that she has a daughter that screams every time she sees a bug. So they bought this
totally reasonable thing.
Yeah. So they bought this really neat bug catching tool. It's a Carson Bug View quick release catching tool and magnifier. So it's like a handle, and on the end it has a little box.
It keeps the bugs sufficiently away from you.
So it's kind of long, and so then what you can do is there's a slider where your thumb's at. You pull it back to open the box. You can get down where the bug's at, then you close the box, and the box is probably like 3 inches by each side, 3 inches by 3 inch, and the whole top of it is a magnification window.
So the bug is now contained in the box.
Right. So you have this handle, so you didn't have to touch the bug to capture it, and you can look through the magnification. And because the area is so small, it can't like move too fast and too far away from you. It kind of just sits there. So we caught like a cricket and then a spider, and it's great because you're not hurting the bug at all.
Let's just be honest. It's nothing but stink bugs. Here in Western Washington, it's nothing but stink bugs this year.
But you can catch the bug, and then you can look at it. We all studied it. We talked about the different parts of the bug, and then we were able to release it. It would also be great if you needed to, like, I don't know, catch a spider in your house and release it. This would also work for that. But it was a great tool for kids who are not into actually touching the bugs. And of course, the other thing is too, you have a kid, especially depending on the age of the kid and the temperament of the kid, oh, hey, pick up that bug so we can look at it, crunch. So this is another way to make sure that we don't hurt the bugs as we study them.
They're like an untrained robot where it's like, shake hands, broken hand.
Yeah. Everything on this gift guide, as I said, I'm most excited about the marble run, but this is the most practical of all the gifts on this guide. I think that this should be in everybody's nature kit that they take out of their, nature backpack or whatever with their kids, because this is an awesome way to explore that part of nature.
It doesn't apply to our 4-year-old who, while we were doing family photos down by the river, decided to pick up a snake and show it to everybody.
Right.
Thank goodness we live in Western Washington and we do not have any snakes.
Yeah, she's like,
hey, look, here's a snake, garden snake. Everyone want to look? And it's like curling around her arm. I'm like, you're a different breed, kid.
Different breed than the rest of us.
Moving on, games. Ariel, hit them.
All right, so we love games, of course. The first one we wanted to talk about is a new version of Horrified. Horrified is a cooperative family game from Ravensburger, and it's basically...
Ravensburger or Ravensburger?
It's basically a family co-op where the original one is the Universal monsters, Dracula and Frankenstein or whatever, and you're playing cooperatively to try to defeat those. Well, so they came out with a new version that's all the Greek monsters.
Same gameplay.
Same gameplay to my knowledge. It's still cooperative. This is an excellent, as far as co-op games go, this is great. We can play it with our 8-year-old, so I would say 8 and up is probably good. It's got a lot of great decisions. It has fantastic art, and this one's all about the Greek gods and monsters and things. So awesome theming. So if you're studying ancient civs, this would be a really great one to get if your learner's a little bit older.
And also some Disney park games.
Yeah, so we're preparing. If you've listened to our interview with Bailey Gurr about going to Disney, we're preparing for a big Disney World trip next year.
Is our wallet prepared, Ariel?
No, it is not. I did a budget spreadsheet this week, and
don't tell him.
No, I'm not going to say the numbers, but
please support the podcast.
Yeah, it was bad, y'all. I was like, this is the amount, and you're like, oh, is that the budget for the whole trip? I'm like, no, this is just for tickets. You're like, does that include food? No, it's just for tickets.
Daddy's getting a job.
Yeah, it's gonna be bad. We're gonna have to save a lot. I think he sent me a picture of like we're having PBJs for Christmas.
Yeah.
So
ramen noodles are back on the menu, kids.
You're right. So anyway, but we're getting geared up for this, and one of the things we thought would be really fun for Christmas this year is to start getting our kids kind of excited about that by leaning into some Disney gifts. And one of the things that I found is that several brands, Ravensburger and Funko and a couple of others, have a bunch of board games that are themed off of the rides, which is awesome.
That's super cool.
So there's one called Happiest Day, which is just in general about the Magic Kingdom or about Disneyland. I think they have 2 versions. You can get whichever version. But then
my favorite ride ever that I would go on over and over again is It's a Small World.
Right.
Ariel, is there an It's a Small World game?
It's a Small World. We actually got this one for our littlest. It's for our younger kids. It's a younger kids kind of a look and find type game. So there's that. There's a Jungle Cruise game from Ravensburger. There is a Haunted Mansion game, and you can get either the Disneyland version or the Magic Kingdom version. There's a Space Mountain game. There's a Big Thunder Mountain Railroad game.
Oh, that's awesome.
So there's a lot of cool games. So if you are planning for a Disney trip next year, or you're just a Disney family, I thought this was awesome because they're themed after all the rides, and so we can kind of really lean in. Come to think of it, actually, while we're talking about this, and I didn't have notes on this beforehand, but they do have a set of little golden books that we also got for the kids for Christmas that are all about the different Disney rides as well.
Oh, okay. I'll make sure to put those in the show notes.
Yeah, put those in the show notes too, because those are really great if you're planning for a Disney trip. But I was just so excited to see that, like, we can play Space Mountain the game.
Well, we also, I think we reviewed it in a short bite, and I think I'll link it, is the Mickey's Beanstalk Adventure.
Oh yeah, Mickey and the Beanstalk.
Yes.
Yeah, not really an awesome cartoon. Whew, that was weird. But
Well, it's dark. It's dark.
But the game.
It's a different time, Ariel.
Different time. But the game is really excellent. We love it. It's a great Funko game with a cool little beanstalk.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's got
spinning thing.
It's
that
like
you go
a
down.
tree thing. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's very cool. So, anyways, we thought that it'd be fun to mention that these are some really neat games that you could pick up.
Well, you're talking about travel to Disney that we're going to be doing. Let's talk about travel. I think we had in our short bite when we talked about going to Ireland this past year, we talked about the Canon IV2 printer.
Yeah.
Kind of the on-the-go, super small printer.
Yes,
I was very, I was not sold on it until we got it, and then you showed me it, and my daughter was starting to put together her journal and all that stuff. I was like, okay, I get it.
Yeah, I put this on here because this is a great one if grandma and grandpa are asking you what you might need for your travels. It's a little portable photo printer. It takes 2" by 3" paper. Each photo ends up being about 44 cents or something. So it's not like the cheapest thing. But what's great about it is you print directly from your phone via Bluetooth, and all of the photos are sticky backed. So we had a journal for our daughter, and she was able to just stick pictures on each one, and then we were able to write about it, and it made her travel journal so much more visual and appealing to her, and she wanted to write, she wanted to draw pictures, and it was fun because
especially
every day,
since you were doing it every single day and it was for that day. How do you print an image for that day on the road?
Right. I had read things before we went about making travel journals, and people had said like, oh, well, decide where you want, that you want to reserve this space for an image and write in pencil, oh, put this image in later, but then you have to wait till you get home to then print the image and then paste it in the book. This was just so much more fun. It was right away. The pictures aren't going to print in the same quality that you're going to get if you printed photos at home and got them printed at Shutterfly or something. But they were great for this purpose. Our daughter had so much fun. Every day she wanted to pick out which photo, and she just actually took the printer on a cruise she went on with my parents for a couple of days, and they took the printer so they could print and they could make her whole, journey on the cruise book. So I think it's really great, and it's a good thing if you've got somebody who's, asking you, what do you guys need for Christmas? This is a good one.
Yeah, a little bit of an insider thing. If you families of HomeLink want to look at it, you can go ask Dawn about it, our super fan. I always like to mention that because she's the one who turned us on to it.
Right? Yeah. Dawn told us about it. We were like, "What?" And they actually took it on their trip to
Hawaii
with their daughter to Hawaii, and she had a wonderful time with it. And she showed me later.
That's kind of what sold you on it.
Yeah, I was like, "What? We need to have this." So it's a great gift.
So we're gonna round out with everybody's favorite gift, socks. I'm sorry, books. Everybody loves to have a few books in the stockings or under the tree. We're homeschoolers. Of course, we're going to give books away.
Right. We talk about books all the time, and so I don't want to do too many things on here. Just one for younger learners and one for older. So our younger learners book is an animal habitat sticker book. It's really great.
Stickers, books. You can't go wrong.
Yeah, it's learning all about which habitats the animals live in. You can put stickers, and I think that they're reusable stickers, and then there's coloring pages. And I thought, this is great. Our 4-year-old would totally dig this. Also, that would pair really well if you bought the game Planet because it's all about animal habitats. So you can link that in the show notes too.
Absolutely. I'll make sure to put that in.
And then the other book we wanted to mention is America's Test Kitchen.
Which we've talked about.
Yep. If you've heard us before, we love America's Test Kitchen because if you are new to cooking, which all of our children are, and you try to do a recipe, like we bought this Disney Princess cookbook. Oh, it was horrific. Don't ever buy that. It has the worst recipes. Our daughter was so excited about it.
Nobody tested these recipes.
Yeah. And so we made it and things were bland or they didn't work. And then our daughter felt dejected because she's like, oh man,
it was my fault.
Right. And
this solves the eternal problem. Is it me or the recipe?
Right. And if you use an America's Test Kitchen book,
it's
you.
It's you.
Right. It's totally you. So this is great. And so when you're learning to cook, this is fabulous. And we have previously recommended on our previous gift guides, the America's Test Kitchen cookbook for young chefs and for young bakers.
Yep.
There's 2 of them.
And they're really, really good.
They're both great. We have them both. They're fantastic. So I guess you can put links to those too. But this one is a cookbook for young scientists.
Perfect.
And it's all about the science of food and how when we cook things and what happens and why the reactions happen and things. So I love the sciencey take, and we may have to add this to our collection.
Oh, that sounds really good. So we hope this helped you get some ideas for your young learners. I know you guys are all working hard.
And older learners.
and older fathers. And we know there's a lot of fun toys on here. And what I like about it is that we're excited about these things because there are things that interest us. And these are the things that are going to get us on the ground with them, right? Because when we want to play with them, we want to do these activities, it's got to be, kind of fun with us, Yeah. I can't play Barbies because I'm just going to glaze over.
Yeah, that's true.
And I love to have things like this, these type of games or, kind of STEM activities that are just toys, right? But there's a fun element to them, and it can really get you more involved into, whatever your children are doing, having toys and stuff. Like there's a bunch of board games that we have that I'm just like, I'm so done playing these games. I'm almost like, let's just play this harder game and I'll help you through it, just so it's a little bit more fun. Things like this is like, I've played the toys, I've done the things. I'll still sit down and play Matchbox cars. I'll still sit down and play with the Magnetiles. I'll play Legos. I'll play, the VTech Marble Run.
I'll Marble Run any day.
I'll do it any day. But I'm not going to play kitchen, and I'm not going to play Barbies.
Yeah, there's a few things.
But I know you guys enjoy doing that. I'll let you go do that. But these are things that I can participate with them, which is something that I enjoy. And so if you're thinking about toys or thinking about gifts or any type of thing that you want to get for Christmas or the holidays that are coming up for you and your family, definitely take these as some ideas. Maybe it can springboard you into some other ideas. As we said earlier, we're going to Disney. Please support the podcast.
Yep. And the thing that I think is always funny when we do the research for these episodes, and it comes out of them every time, is that you're like, oh, what thing did you find? Oh, don't forget to put this on there. Don't forget to put that. And so it's a couple of things that we own and love, and so we recommend them. And then it's half stuff that we don't own that's now on our Christmas list.
Exactly.
So when I thought I was done for Christmas, then I prepared this episode for you all, and I'm like, well, shoot, I guess I got to buy some more things. So we hope that this is helpful.
You haven't done all your shopping for the big guy here.
That's right.
I'll take some Gravitrax.
Oh my gosh. So we hope that this was helpful to you. If you have other things that you love, go ahead.
Share.
Share them on the Facebook group.
Put them in the comments down below. And
if you see things on sale, let's share and help each other out this holiday season so that we can save a little bit and get some great gifts for ourselves, for our kids, for their homeschool friends, and we can all be helping one another.
I like socks.
Thanks so much for joining us today and making us a part of your homeschool journey. Please engage with us on social media. Join our Homeschool Together podcast group on Facebook and find us at Homeschool Together Podcast on Instagram. We'd love to hear your feedback, questions, and recommendations. Until next time,
Happy homeschooling!